Hey, it's your girl Kiera, and today we're going to be doing something different. Before we get into what I want to talk about, let me leave this disclaimer. I may mispronounce some words. If I do, give me some grace, but trust, the story, the lesson, will be loud and clear. So today, we're not going to just talk about history, we're going to use it. We're going to visit 3 important eras of history. First being the Renaissance, the second being the Protestant Reformation, and the third being the rising of the nation state. Also, I'll be showing you how these 3 important eras of history directly connect to my mentoring program, Bertha Mae's Diamonds. Now, the Renaissance, which means rebirth, emerged in Europe between the 14th and 17th centuries, following the devastation of the Black Plague. Now, while this was a time where everyone was starting to question the world around them, it was also a time where the world was rediscovered. Like, people were starting to see the beauty and brilliance of ancient Greek and Roman knowledge. Most importantly, it gave a rise to humanism. It allowed people to know that they had potential, that they had dignity, and that they had the ability to shape their lives based on what they wanted them to be. A lot of cultures back in that era already had predetermined ways of living. So your grandfather lived one way, your dad lived one way, you lived one way. It was already uniformed how life was supposed to go. So after the Renaissance, it gave birth to individualism. It gave birth to individualism. So just think about the Notebook of like Leonardo da Vinci. It had to be full of anatomy, engineering, and invention. Or Michelangelo's Sistine Chapel, which was a masterpiece painted by a person who believed in the value of the human soul. So people were thinking outside of the box, but it was abnormal to go outside of the box. So the Renaissance taught us imagination, education, and creativity are not luxuries. They're essential. They're essential tools for transformation. So at Bertha Mae's Diamonds, we carry that same legacy. We create safe spaces for young people, especially those from underserved communities. We create the space for them to explore their gifts. So they come, they learn to write, they learn to express themselves, they learn to question things that don't seem right to them. They learn to create. Just like the Renaissance thinkers, they are encouraged to see themselves as valuable and capable of greatness. Not someday, like not that they will be great, but that they are great and that their greatness can only grow. Now let's move on to the 16th century, when a German monk named Martin Luther did something unthinkable. Now, not Martin Luther King. We ain't come up to that time yet. But another important Martin Luther. Martin challenged the Catholic Church, the most powerful institution in Europe, by publishing his 95 Theses in 1517. He was tired of corruption, the sale of indulgences, and the fact that ordinary people had little access to the Bible. You literally had to be rich to have a Bible. Now, how you want to tell me I gotta have some money to get close to the Lord? To learn about God? Are you serious? Now, his message was people have the right to read and interpret the Word of God for themselves. This moment exploded into the Protestant Reformation, sparking wars, divisions, reforms, and a revolution into how people saw faith, education, and power. One of the biggest impacts was literary. Martin wanted everyone to be able to read the Bible in their own language. So the Reformation pushed the development of public schools, translation projects, and printing press to produce mass communication so that the Bible could be read by anyone, anywhere. At Bertha Mae's Diamonds, we teach our youth that your voice matters, your truth matters, education matters. We want them to ask the hard questions. We want them to challenge the injustice. We want them to write their own declarations of freedom, whether that's through journaling, storytelling, standing up for what's right in their schools, or standing up for what's right in their neighborhoods, taking up for their friends. Martin wasn't just a religious figure. He was a social disruptor who taught us that knowledge and boldness can break chains. Now, before we had modern nations like how we have now, Europe was divided into feudal lands, which was ran by nobles and local lords, which now is like relevant to our mayors, congressmen, things of that nature. But around the 15th century, a shift began. Monarchs in countries like France, Spain, and England, they started to consolidate their power so that they could create national armies and centralize their laws. So what their laws were individually, they came to a common ground, put them in the pot, and just made them centralized for all of the nations to work together. That marked the rise of the nation state. So people stopped seeing themselves as outsiders or villagers or serfs. They start seeing themselves as members of a uniform society. However, with this new national identity came things like taxation, borders, and civic duty. Eventually, this led to the idea that governments should exist to serve the people. It was a radical concept at the time, because it's like we're so used to things going how things are going that to introduce something new is like, But that just goes to show you how important history is and how powerful unity is and how powerful identity can be. So, at Bertha Mae's Diamonds, we create a sense of family, purpose, and collective belonging. We always tell our youth, you belong to something bigger. Your voice, your ideas, your leadership matters to our community. We hold workshops on emotional wellness, education, hygiene, and confidence. We take trips, like we have a trip coming up soon to the National African American Museum of History and Culture. I cannot wait. Because we want our youth to know that you are a part of a legacy that's worth protecting. So, whether we're looking at the creative explosion of the Renaissance, the bold rebellion of the Reformation, or the unity of the rising nation states, the message is the same. People who know their worth change the world. At Bertha Mae's Diamonds, we are building the next generation, one workshop, one story, one act of kindness at a time. We're raising leaders who understand history, not just in their heads, but also in their hearts. Leaders who will go on to write their own chapters in this world. Thank you so much for watching. And if this video inspired you, please like, comment, share. And if you want to support the work we're doing, you can follow us here. Look at our Instagram, which is Bertha Mae's Diamonds. That's BerthaMaesDiamonds for our upcoming events. We are turning the past into purpose, and every diamond we reach makes the future that much brighter.